Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nick, I talk about Xaya, I play Xaya. Today I prepared for you a kind of summary. Still it's like 24 minutes or something. But there has just been Ask Me Anything session with Xaya developers the past Friday. So in case you missed, in this video I will show you the most important questions that have been tackled by Andrew Colosimo, who is the co-founder of Xaya, and they will touch on very important, super interesting updates on Soccer Manager Elite, Xaya blockchain itself, and important news about to come on partnerships that will likely boost the valuation of this project up. Just remind that I cherry-picked the questions. I took out some questions about more technical stuff like the blockchain mechanics itself, the halvening, software development packages, and mining. If you want the full integral version of this AMA, in the description there is the link for that. In this version, there's just the juice, and it's packed with exciting new features on Soccer Manager Elite, but also news about Taurion. So let's go. Remember to check the chapters in YouTube, because every single question I put you a chapter so you can skip through the questions that you prefer the most. So enjoy guys, go through the video, go through the questions, and remember to hit that like button for me and the channel, and subscribe if you want to keep informed about what's going on in Xaya world metaverse. Okay, ciao, enjoy.
Andrew, can you tell us how you got the idea for Xaya? Where did this all come from?
I guess it all started maybe in around about the year 2000 when I was playing MMORPGs for money, so like in a play-to-earn aspect, you could say. Starting off with EverQuest, buying and selling virtual swords and all that sort of stuff, and then progressing into other MMORPGs as well. And then when I heard about Bitcoin, well, when I was selling these virtual assets, people will always say to me, why would somebody buy a virtual sword for like $2,000, buy something that doesn't exist? And then when I heard about Bitcoin, which was a bit late in 2011, I understood, that this was going to be big and people will buy something that doesn't exist if it does have some use sort of thing. And at the time, I was also mining, as well as Bitcoin, a project called Namecoin, which was the first altcoin. And that project was initially for like decentralized domain names. And I think that project sort of instigated the thoughts for many other people as well that blockchain can be used for something other than a currency. Yeah, basically put two and two together in 2013 that we could use this for something to do with games, so like for virtual assets or for even like a fully decentralized game. So that's why we made the Huntscoin project as like a bit of a test to see how well blockchain could handle like an MMORPG sort of thing. And then from that time, working with Daniel, we did a lot of research, learned a lot of things, saw the pitfalls and all that sort of stuff, and came up with the idea to basically build a blockchain where people could build their own decentralized games. So instead of being one blockchain and one game like Huntscoin was, we came up with a scalability solution so that you could have many games on one blockchain. So that's basically where the idea came from.
In Huntercoin, each order was issued after a block was mined, 1 or 2 minutes. How will this work in the Xaya blockchain? Will it still be every 1 or 2 minutes or less?
Yeah, so Xaya is already a blockchain now, which is live, and the blocks are on average every 30 seconds. So yeah, you could say that is limiting the sort of games what you could have. However, there are lots of games where that would work fine for a fully on-chain game, like Soccer Manager Elite, for example. We have now basically built an interface for like the Xaya SDK and all the bits that make all the magic happen to build decentralized games, so that it will work on any blockchain. So like with Xaya, you could say that we've gone for full decentralization with that, and it's debatable about proof of work and its security, but we're not sacrificing performance for decentralization like a lot of other blockchains are. However, what we've built, Xaya X, which allows for the games to run on any blockchain, means if you wanted, you could run a game on something like Polygon which has like 1.5 second block times, or on Polkadot, which may be even faster, or some other technologies as well. So yeah, they are 30 seconds on Xaya Core. However, other blockchains, they can be whatever they want and still use the Xaya technology on there. And like, for example, one thing that we're going to be announcing soon as well is we will be Soccer Manager Elite will be running on a different blockchain than Xaya Core, and that will should run differently and in a browser. And we have some people now testing the new version of that now, which will work with MetaMask and have access to all that audience in the Ethereum ecosystem. Everybody is basically at the moment. They're all trading ERC20 tokens, NFTs, and all those sort of things. By putting Soccer Manager Elite on there, we can then have Soccer Manager coins as an ERC20 token, so they can then take part in all the DeFi and decentralized exchanges. Easier to get listed on exchanges when it's an ERC20 token. It should make the game much better, but also as all the infrastructure's there to be able to have things like browser games and stuff, which is why the new Soccer Manager Elite version is now all pretty much done in a read-only way, running in a browser, and works in tablets and mobile as well, which is all responsive design and looks pretty cool as well. I know there's a few people in here now which are testing it at the moment.
With Soccer Manager Elite in the Ethereum chain, it means we must pay Ethereum fees during the game.
Yeah, so if it's on, for example, Polygon, then the fees there are pretty minuscule. So it wouldn't be on the Ethereum main chain, although we would like it to be. But like you say, the fees are just too expensive. It is possible, maybe with F2 or something like that, this could be changed. But on a side chain, the fees are really low, so you shouldn't really have to worry about that. We can probably even sponsor fees that are that low.
High input, real-time games like first-person shooters and fighting games. How do you think they might take shape on a platform like Xaya or even Cartesi?
In a game channel game, at the moment there are some limitations where if you have, let's say, if you have like a 1 versus 1 game, then the latency in between them would just be like playing any other first-person shooter, as long as they're in the same region. So that should be perfectly possible. But when you start to have 5 independent players in like a deathmatch, then the way that the current tech is has been built means that the latency would be like 5 times more or more, because for the game to be like fair, everybody has to process each move in turn. So essentially it's turn-based. Like if you had a 1-player first-person shooter game, it is actually turn-based. It's just that it's very fast between each other. Now if you have 5 people, you then have to do a round robin around all the players. And that's just in the current form, and it could be improved. We just haven't spent a lot of time on real-time games at the moment. However, one way that we've discovered where it could be possible is if you're playing a blockchain game, normally it's for money. So if you're playing a first-person playing a game for money against another team. So if it's like, say, 5 versus 5, then you're going to trust your leader because it's your team. So what you can then do is the leader of each team receives all the moves from the other players in the team, and then this leader then sends all these moves as a bundle to the other player in the game channel, and the other leader is getting their moves from their players. So you can have a 5 versus 5 and a 10 versus 10 or something like that. So that should then be possible for like a massive open world in game channels. That's something that we need to do a bit more research on. Now, if it's a game like an MMORPG that doesn't have like Twitch style movement with mouse look, and it is just like a normal MMORPG or the old school ones where you have like a tab target and you just target people, then you can get away with quite higher latency. So those sort of games should be possible where, you don't have to worry about getting a headshot or something like that.
Are there any upcoming exciting announcements we can expect before the end of the year in the marketing, partnership, or listing space? So
we have got some news coming out about Soccer Manager Elite. We are releasing the read-only version, as everybody knows, and that should be before Christmas. Probably early next week, we're hoping for. So then everybody will be able to see what we've been working on for the last 3 or 4 months. As like a lot of people know, we've been working on this Unity client for some time, but to be fair, it wasn't up to the quality that we wanted, and also it was getting more difficult to be able to run that on a mobile device to make it all decentralized, and all that sort of stuff was a bit complex. So we decided to rebuild that in Flutter and yeah, this, as I mentioned before, so it's accessible to almost anyone. Now, also regarding Soccer Manager Elite, there is some things going on in the background which we can't really talk about now until things have been signed. But we'll have some news about that. There will be sort of like a sale as well early next year. And as for partnerships, we are talking to a lot of big names in the space at the moment, but again, it's not something that we can talk about until we have things like concrete.
Is there any chance for a Soccer Manager coin airdrop for Chi holders?
Yeah,
You know,
it's not
for
something we've thought about, but yeah, well, I mean, I know this has been a discussion in the past as well, and quite a heated discussion on how Soccer Manager Elite will somehow be related to Chi, so Chi's involved in it, and um, like as you know, the things that we have come out with so far are things like taking part in the Soccer Manager coin and wCHI liquidity pool on the decentralized exchanges will generate you Soccer Manager coins, so there is that. But the other thing as well, which we didn't totally decide on in the past, was that there will be part of the sale where you will be able to get a large discount if you use Chi to purchase them, and possibly those Chi will be burned as well. And this is only something that we can do since this new news that we're going to tell you comes out. We'll then be able to do that. But I can't really say any more on that. But yeah, Chi will be linked to Soccer Manager and will be in motion with each other. So
besides the UI overhaul, what are other things you run into working on Soccer Manager Elite that is taking more time than expected?
mostly it is just all the UI. The back end stuff is pretty much done. And yeah, it's just been the UI we've been holding us back all from the start really. And then now obviously we've started from scratch. Although we have progressed really, really fast working with Geeky Ants, our partners. But some of the things which have been added in there, which are not in the current beta and will be in the next round, are things like contracts for players. So when you have a player, they'll have a contract length, so like 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, I think it is. And if you're an agent and you're at a club, you can actually set the contract length that you would go for. So then if the manager puts you for sale, then you would go for that length. And also on the transfer market, you'll be able to see how long the contract length is for that price you're bidding for, so then you don't get surprised later. So, you know, for example, if the contract length is someone's got it down as the 2 years, then that player may go cheaper than somebody who's got set as 5 years. So there's contract length. There's also the free bench, which has been added now, which means that every club will only have something like 28 players max, or is it 30 players max, something like that. So then all the other players that don't get in the club will go on the free bench, and anybody can buy people off the free bench. It will then start an auction, and the money that is raised for the auction of clubs that go on the free bench, the Soccer Manager coins, is burnt. And also anybody that buys the shares in the players that are on the free bench, those Soccer Manager coins are burnt as well. And that's in the current iteration, and you know that is subject to change. And what else is in there as well? The share dilution as well is in there. So if you're a shareholder, you can initiate a share dilution event, which basically puts up 5% of the shares for sale. So and then goes to an auction, and basically everybody who puts money in gets a share based on the ratio of how much they could put in. So if I put 50 Soccer Manager coins in and you put 100 Soccer Manager coins in, and then it ends, then I'll get 33% of the shares, something like that, maybe. So yeah, there's that in there as well. The share dilution event is for basically if somebody's like owns all the shares in a club and then they disappear, they go AWOL, although they lose their private keys, then essentially that club would be dead. So by having the share dilution event, people can then start to take over the club again and get enough shares back and start, voting in a manager and all those sort of things.
My question is, in terms of you got the beta for the Soccer Manager Elite, and then obviously the release.
Yeah.
How long is the sort of like support from you guys with Soccer Manager? So like, obviously the game is released, and then how long are you guys going to be supporting that? Because obviously you're working with Soccer Manager at the moment.
Yeah, so we'll be with the game forever, so I can say that. And we will have some news about our partnership as well, which is quite big news in the new year as well, which is good news as well, not bad news. I mean, obviously, if it gets to a point where the community is in total control of all the open source code on GitHub and everybody's contributing and things like that, the ultimate goal is for it to be run by the community. It's just that at the moment we've not open sourced the code, and because it would be a bit of a bad idea to just release all that game code and then someone else to just make the same game. So everything will be released in open source, like after the full game release, and then people can verify all the code, and then the community can get involved, maybe build their own clients and all those sort of things.
Have you worked out tokenomics for Soccer Manager Elite, or is it still in the works?
Yeah, so there will be staking for taking part in the liquidity pools for providing liquidity on the decentralized exchanges, so you can earn Soccer Manager coins for doing that. And the tokenomics, they're not set in stone yet, but out of the total supply, 10% is already being reserved for the people that took part in the ICO. That was a promise that we made to the Xaya ICO participants from 2017, 2018. Around 10% of the total coins are in the club's balances at the start. In where the clubs are in, you could say, like the circular flow of how the coins move around the clubs, like in the match engine, all that sort of stuff. So for example, how much ticket sales you get and all that sort of stuff, and the wages, what you pay out. Inside that bubble, if you will, of where 10% of the coins are, which some of those coins can go out and go back in as well. Out of that 10%, there will be like some inflation there. So that might be like 10% inflation within this bubble of players. A bubble of like clubs and stuff all playing each other and things. However, even though 10% sounds like a lot, in the grand scheme of things, that's only, you could say, 1% of the total supply would inflate every year, so which is like pretty much negligible. So there's that, 10% of the coins there, and then obviously there's going to be a certain percent for staking rewards, for community, for marketing, for exchanges, for a private sale, for public sale, which might not actually be a sale in the end. It could just be that people burn their coins to get them, so we don't generate anything from that. Well, at least part of that anyway. Like as an example, and this isn't set in stone, 5% of the coins could be for wCHI holders with like a major discount, but that's not set in stone, so don't take that as a promise.
You recently mentioned Taurion development will restart in the second quarter of next year. I know giving deadlines is extremely difficult in this field, but roughly how far is Taurion from being released?
Yeah, so like there's two parts to Taurion, if we ignore marketing and all those things, but in the development of it. So there's the back end, which is what we call the GSP, the game state processor, and that is pretty much all done, and it was all working fine. There is some extra things we need to add in there, which may be just a month or two work, which is, for example, adding in corporations, adverts above buildings, and the player progression skill system as well, which is half implemented. So if you keep mining, you gain experience in mining, and then when you get to a certain level, you can then use higher level mining lasers and all that sort of stuff. That sort of stuff is very short. Now, what is the time consuming part is all the front end, and where we've been basically doing that all in house previously to this year. That needs a lot of work. So there's two ways that we can go about it. One of them is, we expand our team, we go full blast on that, or we partner with somebody of which we are already in discussions with to build all the front end. Now, like another option as well is, I know everybody likes all this 3D environment, which is done in Unreal, and it's something that I like myself as well. But another option is we could just do this in a browser as well and make it a bit more strategic and Google Maps-like sort of a game. So that's something that we've been discussing just recently over the last month, and then of course later on we could continue with the Unreal client. So we don't know for sure which way we're going to go yet, but that's something that we're going to be focusing on in Q2 next year.
Are you considering a 3D match viewer on Soccer Manager Elite, similar as the one on FM?
Yeah, no, it is something that we've discussed, and also with Soccer Manager team as well, because they do have a 3D match viewer. Yeah, and we could probably do that as highlights as well. So the difference with this game is, in a single player game, like Football Manager, you press next and then it calculates all the events in real time. So then, if it's your team what's playing, you can watch it live and see, someone taking a free kick and scoring and stuff, which does look really good. Whereas in Soccer Manager Elite, because it's an MMO, you might not be at your PC when it happens, when the match happens. So, it would make more sense if it was done as highlights, but it could also be done in a real-time way as well. So if everybody goes to the PC at 3:00 on a Saturday and watches to see what the match results are, so that is something that is possible as well. I mean, we did originally discuss that. However, one thing that we can do, and it is possible to change easily, is make it so the match actually plays over 90 minutes. So then you could actually do substitutions within the game as well, while the match is playing. However, that's probably going to be something for the future. And just before I forget as well, something that I remembered there, one thing that we want to do with Soccer Manager Elite in the future as well is allow for people to do friendlies. So at the moment, there can only be 300 clubs, which means there's only 300 managers. However, if we add in friendlies, where maybe you only need one share in any player, you could build any club, any team you wanted rather, and then play somebody else and wager Soccer Manager coins, and the winner would get the Soccer Manager coins. So you could go into like a lobby where people will say that they're like looking for a match and they're willing to bet so much, So that's possible there as well. Obviously, there would be some balancing issues there. So maybe what we would have to do is say your team cannot have a total rating of more than 1,000, something like that. So then, to build a team, you would have to build them within those limits, so that some player doesn't have 11 of the best players in the world to compete against. That basically would just be to add a more fast playing to the game, because at the moment it's a very slow MMO, as opposed to an audience that just wants something quick. So by adding friendlies in, we can have people that just come onto the browser game and have a look and say, oh yeah, I'll take this guy's bet with my team and just play the game.
Can you guys, Renegade Snail Brain, give us your 1-minute best elevator pitch on how Xaya differentiates to the competitors out there?
All right, well, I'm not prepared for this, but so the difference with us and the competition is we are focused on fully decentralized games. Now, people might think they don't care about that, but when you have a game where your assets are worth millions of dollars, or you've acquired assets in a game that are worth millions of dollars, and then one day you turn your computer on and the server's gone, it's not working, then your item you've got has no utility, so it has no value. Another thing is, if you're playing a game like an MMORPG and the dragon drops an ultra rare dragon tooth or something like that, which might take 100 people to get in 6 months of time and questing or whatever, and then one day the developer just gives their friend one of these items. So your item, which you had, which took all that time to get, which was worth $1 million, is then been diluted, on the market. So its value is then going to be worth a lot less. That's basically it. But there's also other things as well. There's like cheating and things, and hacking of the servers and duplicating coins and all that sort of stuff. All those things can be solved with our technology. There you go.
All right, let me see if I can give you a really quick elevator pitch. Okay, now why would you want to use Xaya? Because we're doing fully decentralized games, and what you're going to get in with Xaya that you're not going to get with the competitors is a full Bitcoin ethos. Now, you need to sort of understand economics, and what Bitcoin is, why Bitcoin exists, and what Bitcoin is doing. Decentralization, permissionlessness, these things are important concepts. And decentralization gives power to that too. Power to everybody all over the place. There's no central authority, nobody that can rug pull you. Permissionless. You don't need to ask anybody, and it's trustless. You don't need to trust anybody. Yes, and it's censorship resistant. When you ask somebody, do you believe in free speech? And they say, yes, but they don't believe in free speech, so there you go. It's basically all the benefits that you get in Bitcoin wrapped into games. Since you're open source, anyone can build on the platform like Mimir did. Are there projects you know of that are building or wanting to build games, on the Xaya platform?
I mean, there's a few people in the development channel that are building or say they're building things on Xaya as well. And we have a few Slack groups, shared channels in our Slack. But one thing about that Mimir as well, that it seems like an interesting project, but we haven't had any communication with them, and we don't really know how they're going to use our technology for what they want to do.
Is it somehow possible to motivate developers on Polygon who use our tech, Xaya X, to also use our wCHI coins in the game they develop, maybe by awarding them with some special coins or NFTs, or granting them some other benefits?
So that's a good question. So we can give some incentives for people to make use of using wCHI in there. For example, we can fund them for one, and we can support them, so we can hold their hand if anybody wants to develop anything, and that's pretty much all we can do. But we hope that anybody that is doing this will make sure that wCHI is used in some way, whether that's even just taking part in the sale and getting a discount, or integrating in a more deeper way as well. Like we will be doing with Soccer Manager Elite.
Human mining! I discovered this with Xaya. Is this a Xaya concept, or has it been implemented somewhere else? Is it basically hiding qubits in the landscape for people to find and extract using time and game resources? So this is a great question for you, Andrew. You're the guy who came up with the idea of human mining way back in 2013.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I got into all this stuff based on playing EverQuest and selling virtual assets for people, to people, and you could say mining the assets by farming mobs and trading and things like that. So one issue was like duplication of items and hackers and bad devs and things like that. And then in 2013, when I came up with this Hunter Coin project, it basically was that sort of same essence and idea of being able to play to earn and collecting, basically making money playing games, but on a very basic level. So I wanted to follow the same principles of Bitcoin, where in Bitcoin only so many coins can be mined a day, and there's a limited supply. So by making this game and it being all provably fair and censorship resistant, trustless, permissionless, all that sort of stuff, it followed all the ethos, like you said, of Bitcoin, so people could, play a game fairly instead of having to use expensive mining hardware to collect these crypto assets. And that's basically where it's all started from. Now, the gameplay was very dull in that game, and that's why the games that we're making now, like Taurion, are much more complex, as complex as the player-driven economy in EVE Online, but following all those same principles. So it is all about fairness. So, I mean, you might want to say something about human mining as well.
Okay, human mining. I when I saw Hunter Coin, I thought this was just absolutely brilliant. Playing that. Andrew's going to say it was kind of dull. I don't think so. I think it was really exciting. It was fun, because the thing is, you're going out on this map and you're collecting these coins, and these coins are the exact same coins that the miners are hardware mining, but you're human mining them, and you can cash these out for money. And so it's thrilling, because you're playing for money. It's a kind of, I guess it's kind of like gambling, but not really gambling. So you're running around this map collecting these coins, and you get the Crown of Fortune, which gives you, a quarter of a Hunter Coin, every block, so it's just going to, stack up coins for you, and you're running to make it back to your home base so that you're safe, from people trying to kill you. That was a lot of fun. But
I think it was a dollar a minute or something at one time, or $2 a minute or something like that, if you held the Crown of Fortune.
Oh yeah, the amounts of money that people were making with Hunter Coin was just absolutely phenomenal. Hunter Coin, you had 90% of the coins on the map and 10% of the coins going to the hardware miners. How or will Xaya Games in some way handle toxic players and cyberbullying? I know the whole idea is to have game worlds with no or limited central authority, but will there perhaps instead be some sort of community chosen moderators in games that have the ability to ban people or something similar?
That could be an optional thing based on developers, but I mean, for example, with Taurion, we're not going to have the power to ban anybody. But what you could do is, for example, in the chat, you could just ignore somebody, because the chat is at the moment centralized, even though it has decentralized authentication. You know, we could moderate the chat. We can also have filters for text and things like that. Actual in-game actions in Taurion cannot be stopped by us, because it would basically defeat the whole purpose of what we're trying to do if there is some central authority that can just ban somebody. You could have some sort of DAO that deals with that as well, but then, you know, how do you deal with then the people that own all the votes because they have the most money voting out their enemies or things like that? You know, it's a very difficult problem to solve. But yeah, you know, things like chat and things that, you know, that they can be censored, and I think that would be fair to like a compromise.